what was the theme?
Taboo.
Taboo. Well, the closest thing I've got is tomorrow is Fat Tuesday.
Oh, yeah.
And so, which is why I happen to have this, which, you know, somebody actually just handed to us when we were there. And if all goes according to plan,
Those beads you got?
yeah, from different parades and stuff. Yes, exactly.
That's higher class than the usual beads.
Well, this one was from somebody from a crew. Actually, when we were sitting somewhere, like, here, have this. I'm like, oh, I've got a crew thing. I'm never giving this one away, I swear. But I thought I'd read something about women stripping for Mardi Gras. This is called The One at Mardi Gras. Music that you're hearing in the background is from the Helmet of South Africa. Francois Le Roux. I was at Mardi Gras last weekend, and I got a bunch of beads from parades. No, I didn't lift my shirt for them. And a friend of mine had a balcony on Bourbon Street, and so we were on it on a Friday night, and the swarms of people stretched for over a mile. It was a mob, and no one could walk, and the crowd just kind of carried everyone along. And all the men expected women to get naked for them for beads, and from my balcony I would see every few minutes a series of flash pops going on, coupled with the roar from the crowd, and I knew that a woman had lifted her shirt for the screaming masses. I refused, however, to strip for drunk strangers when I knew they all expected me to, being on a balcony and all. So men would look up at me and stretch up their arms, looking up inquisitively as if to ask me to either for me to give them beads or for me to strip. And since I wasn't stripping and, well, I had plenty of my own beads, I decided to turn the tables and see if men would accept the same conditions they expected of these women. So when men looked up at me for something, I would say, "Drop your pants!" And they would look at me confused because the women are supposed to be the ones doing the stripping. But in general, I got two responses from the men. Either they'd look at me like I was crazy and walk away, or they would just shrug as if to say, "Okay," and start unzipping their pants. And then they would make a gesture to turn around as if to ask, "Do you want to see my butt?" And I would yell, "The front!" And they would just shrug their shoulders and turn back around with their pants and their underwear down at their knees, and then they'd start moving their hips, which I never asked for, by the way. So over the course of the evening, I managed to get at least 20 men to strip like this for me, and I was amazed that there was a society, this microcosm of society that allowed this kind of debauchery in the streets, a sort of prostitution for plastic beads form of capitalism. So I was reveling in this bizarre annual ritual when this man, average to everyone else, wearing gray and minding his own business, decided to look up at me. So I asked him to drop his pants, and instead of disgustedly leaving or willingly obliging, he crossed both arms over his chest and he looked up at me as if to say, "You want me to do what? You naughty, naughty girl." And then he just smiled at me. And it occurred to me that I finally found someone in this massive crowd that thinks the way I do. Now, New Orleans has a population, from what I hear, of about 1 million. But during Mardi Gras, there are like 9 or 10 million people there. And all I could think was that of all of these people here, I finally found someone who couldn't blindly do what I asked, but at the same time wouldn't think I was crazy for asking. Of course, as I looked at him, I also happened to think that he was stunning. By far the best looking man I had seen there the entire night. He looked like he had style, like he had self-confidence. But then again, I'm nearsighted and I was on a balcony drunk at Mardi Gras. We hit an impasse when he wouldn't strip and neither would I, so his attention obviously was eventually directed to other balconies. But I noticed that for the next half hour, he never left from under my balcony, and every once in a while he would still turn up around and look up at me. Oh, boy, I thought. I was thinking this entire time, I know this is no way to start a relationship. Hell, I'm sure this guy lives nowhere near me, and I haven't even had an actual conversation with him, but he's damn near perfect. And all this time I was screaming and partying at Mardi Gras, and he would still occasionally turn around and make sure that I was still there. And finally, he looked up at me, signaling that he had to move on with his friends. So I held up my index finger to make him wait, and then I threw a bunch of beads at him. I've got to get some men here wearing gray. I'm not crazy, you, and you, my love, you're off that way. I have to throw my beads out there. A part of me threw those beads because he was a good sport for putting up with my taunting and not giving in. But a part of me threw them because I saw in him that strong sense of values and that sense of self-worth, that sheer love of life, the desire to be alive that I possessed all along, and I've always been looking for in someone else. Thank you.